from a lady.
From who? Sorry.
Shatressa.
Oh. Yeah, totally. So, let me roll a d20 here. So, this is at nighttime when you're doing this report.
Yes, I want to confirm to her that the Avatar Ascension has been slain.
Yeah, remember you relayed that message via Dane earlier?
But he wasn't sure if it would get through.
Yeah, he wasn't sure if it would get through because she was depleted of all of her energies. But luckily, I think that Dane probably says to you, he probably says, Master, it seems that Altressa has recovered, although not fully yet. She is pleased.
And I would be assured that now the agreement has been reached.
Yeah, and then there's a pause, and he says, but I must ask, do you wish that I remain in your service? Or would you like to take your own from them?
Stay, at least for now.
Understand. And Megan, that's lesser, correct?
Yeah. But then yeah.
Do you have the availability to do the greater if possible?
Yes, which was why I started with one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
with one.
if you were so the scene is maybe as he's sleeping in that downtime, right? But before you doze off, pass out from exhaustion, whatever you want to call it. You summon up the magics of which you are probably pretty depleted at this point. And you lay your hands upon the wound, and the lesser restoration, it's a weird feeling. You're not sure if it wasn't enough or the fact that you maybe just didn't have energy to do it. There was something weird that happened there, but it didn't work. So you're forced to kind of dip down and grit your teeth and cast the greater restoration, which does work. You sense the pulling, the draining, the poison from Cahill's body. He's still weakened and injured, but he is no longer affected with whatever ailment he was before. And I think it's a cool scene to see Aelin just kind of doing this in the dead of night, as Cahill rests, right? The silent protector sort of scene that we see Aelin take on. But I do need you to roll me a wisdom saving throw. If you don't.
You are the hero he needs, not that he deserves.
24 is enough to pass. So
what?
I would hope so.
I'm sorry, what?
it wasn't far off though. I'm just throwing it out there.
Good God.
So as you're in the middle of healing the wound, and to do this you draw upon a lot of energy, and the last time you drew upon quite a bit of energy, especially from your deity inside of the city limits, there was a thing that occurred, and I think that the window that was latched in the building, it blows open, and kind of you have to you kind of are unsettled for a moment, and you kind of look around, and the wind is kind of the windows are kind of bashing against the stone. It previously wasn't a very windy night at all, and I think that as you recover your spell, or as you finish off your spell, as it completes its casting, you brush your hands off and stand up wearily, and you hear a voice, one that you haven't heard for a little while, but you remember it very distinctly as the raven-haired woman, and she says, "He is pretty. Perhaps I will make him mine." And when that happens, like all the candles in the room snuff out, and you kind of like spin around to see where the voice came from, and you're left with just kind of like the dangling shutter, kind of creaking with that kind of noise, like that squeaking noise of a squeaky hinge as it floats back and forth.
Yeah, and I think that she goes over and like shuts the window and goes and kneels down next to Cahill and kind of puts her head on his chest. And then I think she has that flashback image to the two of them standing in kind of the smoke and being told she has to make a choice. And I think that she just kind of shudders at that thought.
Yeah, totally. Also for Kree as well. Kree, as you gather up these people, are you going with these men to the West Gate to help secure it?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So as you begin to march along the roadway, the kind of soft plodding steps of Noct and the few men and women you've been able to gather up to go with you.
With his cute padded feet.
Yeah. He's actually very silent on stone, right? Because he's a stone drake. So the men and women behind you that you've kind of gathered up to go take the West Gate, you kind of move through that outer roadway and along the pathway and head up. And I think that as you're like arriving, you hear a distant cry. It sounds like it's coming from above you and off to the south. And you see this great shape. It has 4 legs that are kind of dangling. It has a tail that kind of runs off of it. And you can just barely make out vaguely. Why don't you roll me a perception check, actually, to see how well you can make this thing out.
Yeah.
Nice. You know everything. So I'm not even going to describe it for you because we identify what this is almost immediately. This appears to be that great 3-headed beast that the massive combatant in heavy plate armor was riding. And as it's flying, you can tell immediately with that 26 perception that the creature is gravely injured. You can probably even see like blood gushing out of wounds and like dripping off of it as it's flying across. And it just kind of like barely like scrapes over the walls and like sends some dust clattering like behind the group that you're traveling with, and they probably all are like hiding down like we're trying to be stealthy and secretive here. And you can see that it kind of like skids across a couple rooftops, and you can see on its back as well, you see a great figure who appears to be kind of holding on to the reins like with one whole arm kind of wrapped in it, and then one arm like dangling, kind of floating haphazardly behind it. And you recognize as the giant armored figure that you fought before. And as he kind of is holding on, you hear the creature disappears over some of the buildings, headed in the direction of like the palace area. And that's essentially what you see of that as you approach the West Gate.
Men, change of direction. We have an opportunity given to us. Let's take it.
Okay, cool.
And direction change to the crashing figure.
Yeah. So the figure's actually going to crash right about here.
A nice big open field for you.
Yeah.
Would Dane be able to see that from where he is at the moment?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Roll a perception just to see if he notices, like he'll notice it, but notice like what's going on with it. Roll a perception check for him. Yeah, totally. 21. Yeah. He notices, and he recognizes the figure too, I think, with a 21. because he was at that battle as well. And he would like probably relay that information to you, Hannibal.
So he would relay that
Well,
that Kree and him, the guy, and the monster.
he doesn't know that Kree's on his way there, but he noticed that the large figure clad in armor, and the 3-headed beast that it rode crashed kind of in one of the desolated areas of Ulrichsmund.
Okay, I'll tell him to go check that out.
Okay. Abandon the temple and go check that out.
Great idea.
Well, not abandon the temple, but so I don't know you're there, dude.
One or the other. One or the other.
True.
And he's not gonna he's gonna go back to it eventually, but he's gonna check that out.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. So, how about, except for Kree, obviously, how about everyone does their long rest procedures? Whatever you would normally do. And remember, you gain hit dice before you spend them. So everybody gets their 5 hit dice or whatever, because you guys are level 10. So everybody gets 5 hit dice that you can then spend immediately if you wanted to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we do it? Do we get to level 11?
Oh shit.
So
Do we? Do it? Do it?
not yet.
Soon, Tim.
You son of a bitch!
Not yet. At
Soon,
least I will not have you do anything that will matter yet. But this long rest will count. How does that sound?
What?
Yay! We leveled.
So here's the plan. I actually want everybody to go up to level 12.
Oh, God. Fuck, dude.
Jesus.
What the shit?
Oh, man.
So we've been playing for a lot of sessions without experience. You guys have not had any character development besides the narrative ones. And I feel bad about that because I thought I was going to end this a lot sooner. Also, I've tuned most of the encounters from here on out.
Higher. So you need us
For
to be
that
stronger.
level.
Right. He just wants to do less work on his end.
No,
changing
he just
all
wants
of
to
that,
have more fun.
so-
I-
Just wants to kill us all.
I just want to be able to actually use stuff that is like world breaking for once.
Okay.
But we're gonna finish this session out before we do all that nonsense, and then we'll start. We'll actually probably start. To be fair, and this isn't the end. We still have a little bit of time to do some narrative stuff. But everybody do your long rest procedures. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I have a plan for that.
Then I'm going to spend a die because I am not at max HP,
Yeah.
but I was healed graciously by our mercy.
For you, Jericho, that basically means recover spell slots.
Yeah. So
Well, yeah, I
here
mean,
you
I
go.
have other people to take damage.
True.
I could spend another one.
I'll take a
Do
ton of
we
fucking
have
damage, but
Jericho giving a Song of Rest?
Or possibly you,
I
Fearing?
mean, can we both do that?
I think it's only one, and I think yours is higher.
Yeah, I think you can only benefit from one.
If you say so. Okay, let's see what we got. How good are we looking here? Song
So I
of
think
Rest
you're
is a
D8 minus
D8.
the
Yeah.
D6.
Yeah, I think Ferenc
Okay.
is a D6 because
Sure.
he's got side talent.
Okay. All right. Well, it puts me nearly at full, so I'm good with that.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Farron, are
First
you going
one.
to spend some, I assume?
Yes.
so
I have no need to spend them as our mercy or Alan held me out fully.
I love how I know I don't get to spend any, but Kree is still just sitting pretty with 120 health, and yeah,
It's okay. We're going to change that real quick.
I know. I know.
For the record, I mean, Jericho is, as we all know, a legitimate doctor, and therefore would be
It's
entirely
true.
willing to also patch people up with
No,
magic if they could use the boost.
I honestly forgot that you had made that person, that you were an actual doctor, but that's hilarious.
He has proficiency in medicine.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
In
I
this
love it.
setting, that's as good as grad school.
That is, it really is, to be fair. Like, if Aelin is the PhD, you're literally the master's degree. Like, you're like working on your doctorate at this point.
So am I an undergrad? Or no, wait, I have proficiency too.
You literally have high school. Like, that's the level that you're at.
Yo, that's bullshit.
No. Let's be fair here. Hannibal is more like, I want to say, like, xeno-veterinarian. Like, he's out in the woods dissecting Bigfoot.
Yeah,
people are like, wow,
totally.
you're really good at suturing. And he's like, yeah, it's actually easier than I thought it would be on a creature that's still alive.
Oh, totally.
Mhm.
Yeah, they don't twitch as much.
Mhm.
So, awesome.
Glad
Yes,
that was
it is.
agreed
So,
upon.
in the morn, I want to talk to Aelin real quick. Aelin, when you awake, you can tell that like the sun has risen quite a ways already. You also awaken like laid down and tucked into bed. Like, you didn't even notice Cahill's not there currently. But like, you didn't even notice when that happened. You were so out. However, your sleep was probably a little bit troubled. I would say.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah, so like you wake up kind of like dreary-eyed a little bit, like you're kind of like 5 more minutes, mom, right? Like you let that whole like I don't want to wake up yet, like. But then like maybe you like reach over and you realize, oh shit, like where's Bay Hill?
Bay Hill.
I will now and forever always call.
I don't know why we didn't make that joke like
I know,
way
how did that
sooner.
not occur way before?
I
I
know.
don't know.
It's been like 10 weeks and we haven't
That is
realized that
just
joke.
so blatantly obvious right there.
I thought we just respected each other more than that, but
That's funny.
Do you know me? Have you met me before? It's fine.
So, yeah, you awaken kind of, perhaps almost as if you've broken a fever, kind of, like sleep.
Yeah,
like,
that seems like a good way to describe it.
yeah. So, what do you do when you like first awaken? Cahill's no longer in the room. You can tell that like there's a pile of like dirty bandages, right, that were like stripped off, that he probably stripped off of him. His like armor is gone as well. And you're kind of just like left in the room, but you notice the window is open.
I was literally just gonna say I would go to the window, but the window is fucking open. Great.
The window is open.
That worries Aelin. Yeah. I think that she would immediately like go to the window and push out to see what she can see going on down.
Yeah.
Outside the tower.
Yeah, and so you look down, you can see like in the little courtyard area, like a proper setup has kind of been like the people kind of worked through the night. Those that like weren't active participants in literally a battle had like worked through the night, and they'd set up like proper defensive structures, and you can tell like everything's way more organized, and this is the day that the army's like ready to move, like they're ready to start taking over the city as quickly or as swiftly as they possibly can. And there's smoke that rises from a lot of the buildings from like cook fires and stuff, and it's probably kind of heartening because it looks like the first time the Southgate district in particular, because remember when you guys were here before, the Southgate district was basically abandoned because a lot of the undead were moving through the wind in the Southgate kind of freely roaming. And remember, like, this is where like Doc Manick's laboratory was, so like civilians didn't have
those are the days.
Yeah, civilians didn't want to be here. So it's the first time that the Southgate district, at least from your perception of Middenheim, looks inhabited again. which is heartening. Obviously, you can tell as you look out into the distance. There's still some like small fires that are probably burning throughout the city from probably resistance members or other types of skirmishes that have been going down. Maybe like trying to burn Norsemen out, or hold up Cahill army out. Whatever may be happening. You see that sickly green plume that continues to bubble up as if it had just occurred out off to the north. And overall, it seems like a lovely day for war.
Could we put like a tarp over that?
Can
I
we,
just realized something.
Some
Yeah.
duct tape.
Did we ever deal? I was absent one of these episodes.
Mhm.
Did we ever deal with Doc Manic and the?
Nope.
Nope.
So we still got the possessed kid with us.
Oh, Gerolda? Yeah, he's still at Jericho's hovel.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that Jericho will be doing over the course of this long rest, going back to his home to be like, so, are you still here?
Question mark.
Yeah, because here's something we could think about. Doc Manic is probably supplying a lot of the healing, like potions and shit like that.
Is that a thing he actually does? Healing?
Yes, he does. Because
Are we sure about that? Because he
I
seemed like
remember-
more of a Frankenstein kind of.
Jordan, but my,
It's more like
Like,
taxidermy than healing.
Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was handing out potions left and right when I was spying on him.
Yeah, so he was a supplier, right? When you were spying on him, there were many, many people that like came, like brought some sort of thing. It usually wasn't money. It was usually like sometimes you even saw people go in and then like not as many people come out, but one of those people have like a bag that jingled with like glass vials. Yeah, he was a supplier of potions, elixirs, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, 100%. And you also know that he now resides in
The Market District.
Merchant District.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Look, I took in the orphan. I thought dealing with him was Hannibal's thing.
yeah,
Listen.
there's also that other dead lieutenant. Question mark.
The one that maybe Morella killed.
I killed someone. I know that.
That's not something to be proud about, Morella. Coming
I mean-
from Hannibal.
I mean, it's a demon, so nonetheless, it was a demon. It wasn't just a random.
Yeah,
Joe
I'm
Schmo.
confused
It was-
about Hannibal's righteousness on this point.
A demon's a demon. Whether it was the right demon or not is it's a little different. So
There's so many types of demons. Do I need to lecture you again?
I mean,
I thought Hannibal's thing was kind of like the important thing is massive casualties. If they're on the enemy side, that's a great bonus.
It is, but I want Morella to know the difference between what she's murdering.
Good point.
I gotcha.
Directed
That's it.
murder.
you know, I helped you fight that Avatar. Essentially, I didn't have to, but I did anyways.
Granted, I did not tell you about that. I said that there may be a chance of it happening. So, frankly, you don't get this
You
brownie.
did ask for help, though. You did ask for it.
I did. But you thought it would be a routine thing. So you only,
So you lied to me.
yes, I did. But you don't know that.
You lied to me.
I did.
Anyways, so what are you?
You
rolling?
don't know that.
That was for the Bears. Fair enough. That's a good question. If the Bears get any healing.
Yay!
The Bears.
By the way, is John here?
Yeah. So you can definitely link up with John again. At some point, Hannibal, for sure. Also, Hannibal, I rolled a 16. Remove your debuff.
What?
You can remove your debuff.
I don't know what that means.
I needed to get one over, or I got one over what I wanted to roll. So there you go.
I'll clarify it to you guys at the end of the session what exactly was going on every single time I cast a spell.
Yeah.
Oh, delightful! I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, that dimension door trick probably would have ended very badly.
Thanks for letting us know about that, Hannibal.
Well, it might not have been too.
The GM literally just said it would have, but okay. So, how are we doing
Kind of
with our long rest
similar
attempts?
to.
Well, I'm
perhaps-
perfectly now fine.
Listen,
Under the
kind of-
circumstances, I'm not sure this particular scene that we're looking at right there is actually a bad thing for like repetition in their temple of
True.
horrifying magic.
So wait, hold. If I could replicate what happened in that house at that temple, you guys would be happy.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm just saying it wouldn't be the worst thing that could happen. If it's a choice between that or the entire city dying, then go for that. But prior to that, let's make that like plan.
You already
B.
blew up a bridge. I'll just say.
And
He's on a roll.
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be that big of a leap to burn the entire city.
That's not a solution. Jericho is literally here to make sure no one uses that as a solution.
Now, hold on. Now, you say that's not a solution, but that's subjective.
That's not a solution, Hannibal.
Fire is the solution to everything.
So is running a spear through your chest. But anyway,
So, which one will clear out the demons?
the spear.
And my fire.
Depends on what demons you're talking about, to be fair.
If you're talking about, the
Is
worst
there
thing
any
in
demons? Then
existence.
yes,
Yeah,
my spear.
the demons of the soul in Hannibal probably would be cleansed by Morella's spear. That's
Hannibal, Demon, Solomon.
I haven't told you what your D stood for yet.
You told Jericho. You told Arkady.
Oh yeah, I did.
He really regretted asking that question at that moment. It was perfect. Sorry, we're continuing to sideline though.
No, it's totally fine. Jericho, I see are you really not at full health? What's
Oh no, I was just doing math on max health when we level up.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So the group is reunited, perhaps. John is back. Everybody has gotten I won't say a good night's sleep, but gotten a long rest at the very least. So everybody's perhaps feeling a bit more chipper. And the group of you goes to like report to Cahill, right? Like that's kind of like you wanted to do that kind of as soon as you were able to and get recovered and get up so that we can make a move on the temple, because that seems like the primary point that we need to deal with right now. So you move into the guardhouse where Cahill's staying, kind of in like the common barracks area. That's kind of been cleared out, like everything's been pushed to the side, and there's that big table that Cahill normally has with his chair kind of up at the head. And you can see like a couple of his generals and stuff are kind of arrayed around him. And he looks much better today. In fact, like almost like I wouldn't say like fully recovered, but like when you walk in, his smile like kind of dangles in the air and is kind of infectious. He seems like he is in a pleasant mood. And if inquired about it, he says that he had the most wonderful of dreams. And he woke up feeling rested and recovered, and everything was, perfectly beautiful again. And he's kind of got like boyish, sly grin on his face again. That he hasn't had probably like since the war started. It's probably been a while. So yeah, he seems like the old Cahill again. Pre-war Cahill, I'll put it that way.
PW Cahill.
Yeah, there you go. So when you make your report, what do you say to him? Or who says what, I should say.
We have found a book that we believe they may be using for a great spell sometime in the future.
To be clear, when we say great, we mean massive and horrifying, not awesome. Well, I suppose awe as well, but how did you put it, Hannibal? It was the worst thing you'd ever seen?
It was one of them. It could be on par with Mordheim?
Okay.
Well, that is certainly something we would like to avoid, if at all possible.
Granted, what I did to the North Bridge is also pretty bad.
Yes, well, that aside, casualties and all that. Pray tell, how do we address this issue? Will simply raising the temple? bring an end to it?
We need the book. The book is the most important thing.
It wasn't destroyed by that undead dragon taking off. I'm not sure burning the temple would do anything.
Then perhaps securing the location may be the best. You said there was these guards outside.
Yes.
Describe them for me.
They were skeletal with amethyst eyes, specifically amethyst. I'd like somebody to write that down. They, according to, do you still have your little girl with you?
Silmy?
She's not that young. Yes, according to a reliable source, the most reliable inside source that we've managed to get on their forces. They are specialized undead, still thralls, but more thoughtful than most, and usually made specifically to hunt something.
It does seem concerning, but fresh faces of undead will not mean that the maces of our armies will not crush them any more shortly. So, securing the temple seems like the best plan. A direct approach is perhaps what I would suggest. Simply march through the merchant district and make our way towards the temple.
I have a follow-up to that, actually.
Speak.
So, well, I agree with the frontal assault. Another thing that we can employ at the same time is to send a few elites through the back entrance that I mentioned. That way they pull all their forces to the front while we come in from behind and make a pincer maneuver.
Yeah, he kind of like scratches his chin. He says, yes, if this book is as important as you say, then it would make sense that if the army is bearing down upon them, they would also try and remove it, perhaps. Move it to a new location. That's something we need to avoid. Yes, I see the wisdom in this, Hannibal. Thank you.
I bow.
Well, what say you, Morella? I have not heard from the champion of the Emperor, and, well, it seems as though you are looking much more fresh today.
Yes. Let us take the temple back. And I smile.
Yeah, and he's like, yes, indeed, a sentiment I can get behind. So, they say that perhaps an elite few. Hannibal, would you be willing to lead this elite group of individuals?
It'd be my honor, sir.
Very well. I will leave the pickings to you then.
Very well.
And he kind of like looks around the room, and he says, yes, and I believe we will have some of the generals and captains lead the frontal assault. We have a city to take, after all. I've heard reports that the West Gate is weakened. Perhaps it would be easy to send a few men that way. We cannot fit the entire army around the temple. It would be good to divide our resources to cover as much ground as possible.
I agree, sir.
Yeah, so it's probably like right about this time that Aelin, you're like coming down the stairs. Did you like dress in your proper clothes?
Yes, I would have put back on.
Yeah.
Probably completely laundered.
Yeah, I'm sure that somebody
I'll
came
put
in
it
and
this way.
laundered clothes.
Done by your cult members.
There was probably a small servant scrap between your cult members and the actual like Cahill servants as to who would wash your clothes as like a matter of honor and pride.
Can we roll to see who did it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god.
We have to make Aelin do it, of course.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
The
roll.
question I feel is what stat applies to this? Who has the advantage?
So I think this is gonna be like I think this is going to be, like, an intelligence thing, because they're probably going to be, like, arguing. They're not going to be, like, scrapping, right? Like, not, like, fighting.
No, we don't know that. So if they fail it, maybe it'll turn into a strength roll.
just do me a favor. Just roll 2d20. The first one is going to be your cult members winning, and the second one is going to be your Cahill servants winning.
If the cult members win, Don't think about what they did
I'd
to your
laugh
clothes.
so goddamn hard.
Don't think about what
You
they
guys
did to
are
your clothes.
awful.
Go on. Ah!
Wow. So I think appropriately, neither of them are very good at like arguing their positions. So like it's literally just like they're holding the clothes and it's like, no, I'll do it. 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 And then like
For hours.
yeah, and then like eventually like there's probably like a small tear from them like trying to yank the clothes back and forth, and they both kind of like stop. And I think the cult member, or you know, the disciple of Ash River,
Members.
the disciple of Ash River probably goes, "You did that. Now you can fix it," and like turns around and walks away, and leaves. So leaving the servant to like stitch up the little tear in the clothing and launder it. But
You know.
but the probably like the young like teenage boy that was doing it, he's probably like all proud of himself, right? He's like rubbing it against the washboard. He's like, yeah, fucking won, yeah. And so like your clothes are probably like there's probably like some little frayed edges from him like aggressively cleaning your clothes, like with all of his pride and honor intact.
Also, where did it rip?
Probably like just along the back of the neckline. Would be the
And
appropriate place.
And can he also roll to how well he fixed that?
No, he's a servant. He's trained in fixing that.
Okay.
He's trained in fixing that kind of thing. So, luckily for Aelin. So Aelin, you descend in your freshly laundered clothes. And Cahill smiles, and the rest of the room, again, like when you arrive, the people that are not your party members, because they can decide how they want to act, there's kind of that like hush that falls over them. And I think that you recognize, actually, well, let me just throw it out there. Make an insight check to see what you recognize about this silence now. Last night you were in a bit of a tizzy, so you weren't able to really tell.
With that
Nice.
roll, you can tell that Hannibal is unhappy with you.
Is that different
Hannibal's
from
unhappy with
always?
So almost everyone in the room appears to be silent out of deference to you, to your presence in the room. A lot of them have probably like lowered their heads and are like gazing at the floor. In somebody of higher stature than me has entered the room, and I need to wait until I'm spoken to or need to speak on something. There are obviously a couple that don't. Lord Tenderfoot probably greets you with like a little bit lower than usual like nod of the head. Lady Luftberg as well probably gives you like just the smallest of curtsies, like greeting you, but also in a little bit of like, yeah, okay, I recognize you as the fiance of the future emperor, right? Like that's kind of the thing you get. But I think one that stands out in particular is Lady Tolsbeck. Lady Tolsbeck kind of just stares at you. And what you probably would mistake for indifference on any other day is probably a very like kind of judging, evaluating look. Almost as if to say, are you worthy of my deference? Right? Like she's like kind of challenging you a little bit, as opposed to everybody else in the room who's kind of accepted based on the pure, 20 score of Cahill's charisma.
21.
Yeah, well, yeah, he probably is above and beyond the normal levels, to be fair.
Cheating
Cahill.
bastard.
I think that if you were in a political mindset, you would understand that you might have to stand on your own 2 feet with Lady Tolsbeck, whereas with everyone else, you would be able to just kind of get by. But I don't know if that's the thing that anyone thinks about,
Not
or if
particularly.
or
I
if
think
maybe
that-
now she's thinking about it.
I was just gonna say, I think that now it's kind of been something shoved in her face, so she has no choice. But I actually think that Aelin probably interprets that more as not so much as her now having to prove herself, but her just feeling inadequate. So I think that she would probably just kind of look awkwardly around at the people who aren't even engaging her. and kind of wait to see what Cahill does or how he approaches her to know how to react.
Yeah, and I think that like kind of overly casual about it based on like the recent conversation that was had about literally marching an army through a city to kill like literally thousands of people. He kind of like gestures a hand for you to like come over and take it, and he greets you good morning and says, you know, I hope you slept well. We are just discussing the aspects of war and all that. I hope it won't bore you too much.
Helen just like smiles and nods, and she says, I'm glad to see your smile has returned.
Yeah, and I think that like he kind of like does that thing where he kind of like gazes off into the distance and smiles, kind of that like roguish, boyish smile, right? And he says, yes, it was a good night. And kind of like there's that awkward moment like around the table where like everybody's just kind of looking at Cahill, and then he like kind of shakes his head and he snaps him out of it, and he's like, yes, well, enough of that. What's next on the agenda? And then I think like a scribe from the back like pulls out a scroll. He's like, Master, it seems that we're limited on these supplies. And like you can see everybody around the table just kind of like puts a hand on their head like, oh my god, no, now it's logistics, kill us now.
Sorry to interrupt, weird question. Does Cahill know about what I told Aelin last night yet?
Nope, I don't think so, because Aelin said she
and
then fell asleep.
I was gonna wait and then fell asleep, and unless you told him before I came downstairs.
No, Kree is currently not
right?
here.
Yeah. Never mind. No, he doesn't.
Awesome.
We're so good at this, you guys.
I had to think that the one person who could possibly answer his question is right here too.
So yeah, the logistics starts, and that kind of signals the ability for anybody who's like not pertinent to the logistics conversation to like do whatever they want at this point, which is obviously all of you guys. And Aelin, obviously, as well, if you wanted to.
Okay, so I'm going to go start gathering some members.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm mainly going to focus on more stealthy and strong people, so I'm going to go to Kree.
Well, you can't find him.
Shit. So, go to the next best thing, Jericho.
The next best. We have completely different skill sets.
That's true.
There are a limited number of ways that two creatures could be less similar than Jericho. Fine. Yes. Wonderful. Glad to be part of this.
Would you accompany me on a suicide mission?
Have you actually done this before? I mean, everyone seems very impressed with your leadership abilities. It's just, I feel like they don't really know you that well.
I have done this. I've led a successful battle against the Norskins.
Okay. Yes, I think for a vast host of reasons, I'm only too enthusiastic to join you on our not suicide mission.
Okay, you can keep calling it that, but I'll go recruit some others.
Well, I can speak to people as well if you like.
I'll allow it. You will be my General Junior.
You've never...
Just let him be.
I do the rank of Junior General.
Yeah, so the next question really is, Morella, where would...
Goddamn House MD of the Imperial Army here.
Morella, where would you ride? Would you ride with the bulk of the army to crash into the gates of the temple, or would you want to attend this other mission?
And what other mission was mentioned?
The one that Hannibal is undertaking with selecting people to go on to like a couple of elites to make sure basically like nobody escapes.
Oh, there is one other person I'd like to get for sure.
Mhm.
Daniela.
Ooh.
I was gonna say Mel.
Hmm.
If you
What
can
Mel's
find her.
character?
Those two would be good.
Remember those times?
You remember
I
those
like-
times? She's very
I
busy
will
now.
like-
She's got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, I'd want Daniela and Mel for
They're
sure.
trying to not die on stairs.
Yeah.
No, that's like a certainty. To be fair.
Hmm.
I mean, like currently, she's presently. It's inevitable. But...
She's helping in the ways that only Mel can.
You couldn't drop Jericho a note somewhere.
Or
Okay.
Farron, for that matter.
Also,
Uh,
as Dave reported back to me about that going is on.
yeah.
As-
I'm gonna get to that for sure.
As
Okay,
a question to you, Mr. DM Jordan.
Yeah. So
What was the location that Morella had difficulty finding last time?
Ulrich's
She's-
Garden.
The
Okay.
freaking garden.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you
I was
rolled.
debating whether it was the statue or the
poorly.
garden. I couldn't remember.
No, you know where the statue is. Statue's all shattered along the ground.
Yeah, I knew one of them was known, the other one wasn't, and so okay.
Yeah, Ulrich's Garden is still evading you.
Mhm. Yeah.
However,
Yes.
Brian, check Discord. Because you're not responding to your message.
Oh, I didn't even know that was you.
Yep. Correct.
All right. I think Morella will go with Hannibal and Jericho.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
I
So,
think that is the
yeah,
most reasonable.
okay, sounds good. Now the real question is, Farron.
Farron's coming along with us. He has no say.
Okay, fucker.
Wow.
Jericho is gonna go talk to Farron. Actually invite him as a capable person who
So-
would actually be really useful on
Who
a mission
has
like
free
this.
will?
Actually, if I'm
I
gonna
say
be
it
honest,
jokingly. Good lord.
Is this the you can't actually own people argument again? Because
Oh no, it's
Trying to-
spreading. It's
No,
spreading
it's only
to
when
others.
I say things like that that everyone gets all huppity. When everyone else says it, it's
How
completely
you
fine.
say?
can I be honest here?
No, please don't.
Count on it.
It'd be great if either Morella or Farron was actually with Cahill.
Very well.
Because that
See
way,
if you can get Farron to go with you. I will seek with Cahill.
I mean, that's the first place Jericho's going, so.
yeah.
problem solved.
So, Farron, where do we find you after the meeting, or after your portion of the meeting is adjourned? Because you're actually getting invited to these things now.
Yeah, which
but-
is really strange.
But not as like the attendant to Morella anymore, right? Like
You
you're-
are Farron.
The
yeah.
Bear General.
The Bear General, yes, high five.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say Papa Bear, but alright, that works too.
And that's why you're not Empress.
Of course. That's the reason.
God, we
Wow.
are savage
So-
today. We are fucking
Yeah.
savage.
You know it's getting late when we
I'm
start
gonna
to.
pee myself.
Poor
Yay,
Will.
Will's broken.
Oh my.
Holy shit! Will got broken. Oh my god, that's amazing.
Will, how broken are you? On a scale of 1 to woodchuck.
Oh!
Bringing it,
I think we should just be done for today.
bringing it
Before
all
somebody
the way
before
around.
somebody gets upset.
No, we got 6 minutes. We gotta go. We're so close.
Okay. Will, are you okay?
No.
Holy
That's
shit!
the most broken I've ever heard him. I
Okay.
think we've officially
So-
done it.
That's the
Uh.
second most broken person you've seen today.
So,
Oh, man.
perhaps as we all prepare, which we can figure out at the beginning of next session where exactly we're going and that interaction, we have a bit of a flashback scene. It's the dead of night again. The moon is rising like high over the city, and we see that there is this gargantuan figure clad in this metal armor. One of his arms hangs limply at his side, the other one holding his giant greatsword kind of out in front of him with one hand. We see his great three-headed creature behind him. And we see that there was the dragon, the goat, and the lion, right? We see the goat head kind of hangs limply, almost as if it is asleep or unconscious. And we see that the lion head of the figure kind of crouched low, and we see the dragon head kind of like chest bursting out, kind of trying to address the two figures that stand in front of them. One of them, Kree, would you be riding on Noct?
Yes.
Okay. So we see Noct standing tally, kind of growling low with that deep rumbling earthy growl. And we see Kree, who's got his lance out and is kind of addressing these two. And there's a moment where like Kree, you're probably like pacing or like circling around, and they're slowly pivoting. You can tell that the armored individual is injured. And I think that we then see from like an aerial vision almost, we see like there's fighting going on in the in like the side alleyways and back streets. It appears like some Norsemen have come to the aid of this individual, but the men and women that Kree had brought along are also fighting. And so there's like this battle raging kind of around and in the streets, and it's kind of in the shadowy darkness a little bit. And then we see this all through Dane's eyes. And Dane for a moment kind of loses himself. And I think that Hannibal, the message you get, like you're probably like, you get it as you're like barely awake, right? Like as you're asleep. It's like if somebody whispered to you while you were sleeping and you're like, yeah, okay, sure. Dane tells you that the giant with the three-headed beast is back. He's severely injured. And he probably says that it looks like he's engaging with some force right now. Now, he says that he recognizes Kree and Noct, but I think that, Hannibal, you probably take it as, like, members of the Resistance, because I think Dane is kind of enthralled in this glorious duel about to take place on the field of Ulrichsmund.
Okay.
And this is actually, so just so you're aware, Kree, this is actually a graveyard. This is, like, the only graveyard that exists in Middenheim. It is reserved for essentially the rulers of Middenheim and their immediate families, because it's the only place where people are buried. So we see like these cemetery, like there's a bunch of like all those things are like probably giant, not tombstones, but what the hell is the name of the buildings where you store bodies in sarcophagi?
Mausoleum.
Mausoleums.
Mausoleum.
Thank you. Good lord, I was blanking on that one really hard. They're probably like large mausoleums, like kind of dotting the landscape around you. So you there's this like opportunity here for you to engage, and then we probably see the final scene is like perhaps Kree, you begin to charge, and we see the individual like brings up his sword to bear, and we see the dragon head. It like breathes fire, and that's where we cut off as it breathes fire out at Kree charging it. Yeah, and that's where we end for the night. Cool.
I'm gonna murder him.
So,
Great.
here's the part of the show where I tell everybody again, because you all have been neglected on your experience, Because I was like, I want to end it at 10, and then I was like, well, shit, we've done like 30 episodes without getting experience, and you guys definitely would have been like close to 12 by now if I had been continuing to give experience. I want everybody to level up to 12.
Oh,
jeez.
I am now a sorcerer level 3.
So, at the beginning of next session, we'll do something that we literally have not done in like 3 months or 4 months. We'll talk to everyone about what they've gained. I'll you know what? I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna go back in the VOD and actually find out when the last time we did that was, so I can let everyone know how long it's been. But we're gonna do that thing where we talk about what we get for our levels at the beginning of next session.
Yeah, I may have to ask you questions then.
No problem. I will be available for questions all this week.
Also, inspiration.
And inspiration. So we're giving out three Z's nowadays. 2 for you guys, and then I'll give 1 out. So who of you guys thinks?
Megan and Will. Will for being broken, and Megan for being broken with the woodchuck.
I agree with Megan.
I did feel
agree
that
with
Megan performed especially well today, despite the tremendous adverse circumstances caused by the rest of her party.
Not party, players. There's a difference.
That's a good point. So Megan get inspiration. I heard 1 vote for Will. Does everybody agree with that?
I agree with Will.
I would also vote for Kree as well.
He was pretty good too, to be
My
honest.
my plan was going to be to vote for Kree as well. So if Farron and Kree want to gain inspiration,
Yeah.
you may have it.
Did not
Congratulations,
know
everyone.
that Will could be broken. I did not realize.
I was aware that it could happen, but that was a good one.
Did not know woodchuck jokes would do it.
I
I
mean,
think it was the Morella
more,
joke.
I'm
yeah.
enjoying more the state of Farron as a person free from his previous indentured servitude. Just like, yes, obviously I'm a general of bear riders now. What, is that supposed to be hard?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, important question because it's been so long. Do we roll for health before or
Ooh.
after the session?
We'll roll at the
Like-
beginning of the session.
Got it.
Or you
Awesome.
can always take the average.
No.
I mean, you have a lot of leeway, Kree, so like you rolled like literally all 10s basically for your level ups last time. So remember, this is 2 levels, right? So remember to go up to 11 and then go up to 12 when you're doing your level up stuff, right?
Yep.
Cool. That's all I got for you guys.
All right.
Awesome.
Ready?
Goodbye, everybody.
Have fun, guys.
We'll see you
Bye.
next
Thank you,
week.
folks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye,
Sorry, Megan.
Sorry, Megan. Bye. All right, everyone. Glad y'all could be here. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. And we'll be back next week for more awesomeness. See you next time for more Siege of Middenheim. Toodaloo.